Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. Wrapping up, interesting week. Not as volatile as last week, but still plenty going on. We have had different headlines, not earnings related, right? A lot of headlines regarding COVID closures, updates on that front, but not a lot of earnings. And I imagine this coming week probably going to be more of the same because there aren't very many big names or really many names in general scheduled this coming week. But I imagine it's going to be kind of like another headline-driven, like coronavirus, COVID-related earnings trading week. Excuse me. Um, so as we get into it, Monday nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Actually, there's nothing even scheduled. Before the open on Tuesday, nothing of interest. And finally, Tuesday after the bell, we get something, which is Lazy Boy. Now, it's priced in 4.5. Those are monthly options. To be honest, I haven't traded this one in years. And I don't think I will this week. But, I have seen some pretty good numbers out of like furniture retailers, and I wonder if Lazy Boy has good numbers too. If it gets a little bit of a pop, because it has occasionally been a pretty big mover when it's come to earnings. You've seen some bigger moves, so there have been some good numbers in the furniture space. Uh, that could possibly be one. If it's a name that you've traded in the past, maybe it's worth a look. I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, so I think I might just leave it alone. For the open on Wednesday, Winnebago. 11 points is what's priced in. Those are mostly options, though. Thor, THO, ticker. It reported 2 weeks ago, so I think that took some of the surprise out of the Winnebago's numbers. Charts are very similar, and I imagine expectations are pretty high on Winnebago now because Thor's numbers were excellent. Um, I think the only way I'd look at Winnebago is if it rolls over prior to earnings, if it pulls back a bit. Um, or maybe even like some sort of like calendar spread. But I'm really on the fence with it just because of incredible run and now high expectations after its peer just reported. So definitely on the fence with it. After the bell Wednesday, BlackBerry. I'm not even sure it's worth looking at this quarter. It hasn't been in play for a long, long time. And to be honest, I just feel like the setup isn't that particularly good either. Um, Definitely think there's better opportunities during the week. KBH, so 5 points is what's expected on this home builder. Those are monthly options again. Lennar, so they just reported this past week solid results, but it kind of moved more in line with the overall market. So I don't know really what to expect from KBH. Uh, I do think though that the home builder slash home remodeling sector looks pretty good overall, and it's kind of interesting from like a fundamental perspective too. So I might actually focus more on like a swing trade in this area. See how KBH goes, see what the numbers look like, see what the stock reaction is. But like this group to me seems more like swing trade potential than earnings trade potential. Thursday before the open, Accenture. So 11 points is what's expected on Accenture. Historically, it's not a large mover on earnings, so option pricing at 11 seems kind of high to me. It is hanging right underneath the 52-week high, though, and it looks pretty solid technically. So, I mean, if I did anything, maybe look at something speculative on the bull side just to see if it finishes the job and like closes the gap up from the end of February. But it does look pretty good overall. It's just not typically a huge mover when it comes to earnings. Darden. So 11.25 is what's priced in. Those are monthly options. This overall is an interesting setup, but I kind of wish there were shorter term contracts. Right now, there's only monthly options available. Um, there's a lot of uncertainty around performance going forward for restaurant stocks. I don't know how else to say it, right? So I really think that this and a lot of other restaurant names have really uh, much more mixed opinions than like other sectors or other areas in the market right now. And when expectations are mixed, that usually is a better recipe for volatility. That being said, I feel like the monthly contracts, they just really don't seem to leave a ton of room for a volatility strategy unless I'm able to get risk down pretty substantially. You know, to me, it's a tough call because I actually really do like the setup. I just wish that there were shorter term contracts because paying for all that extra time seems to remove a lot of the reward potential for this particular pattern. Rite Aid, 2 points is what's priced in on that. Doesn't seem too bad. Like the pricing doesn't seem too high. Um, CVS, Walgreens, they weren't really that big of movers when they reported, and actually overall volatility on those have been kind of lower too. But you know, it's down right at the bottom of support. It's got rising trend support. I imagine the numbers are solid, right? I mean, like it's one of those areas that should have benefited from people stocking up and or being in quarantine. So I might look at something speculative out of the money on the upside, just in case it does pop and break through like the top of like this little recent range it's been in. After the bell on Thursday, so the big boy of the week, Nike 675 is what's expected for this. Now, Lulu has come all the way back up to its high, and I don't know if that's a sign for Nike. Um, Might be a red herring. I don't know. We got to see. We did trade this a couple times already this year, and it worked pretty well. But this earnings setup seems more challenging. The reason why I bring up Lulu is just because the numbers weren't great, but the stock also didn't really get hit hard. And you know, when you get reactions like that on something that had such a huge run and they miss, but doesn't really get hit, then it kind of like makes me question whether a similar number from Nike would get hit, right? If the numbers aren't great and it's just like a muted reaction to the downside. And the reason why I'm concerned is because relative to what it typically moves, it's like 675 is kind of high for Nike pricing. Um, so the way I see it, it's going to have to be surprisingly good or very, very bad to reward options. That's just my opinion. My gut, I guess, says lower, but I'm also not confident it will move enough. So I'm very hesitant with it. Uh, I might wait it out, see what they say, see what the stock looks like, and then step back in for a swing trade because that to me has worked better this year, and that way, not necessarily paying up for options. Hopefully, the implied volatility comes down post earnings. All right. And then last but not least, Cinex, 16 points is what's expected on this. Those are monthly options again too, though. I don't trade it too often, but it does seem like a decent setup because this one does tend to move quite a bit when it reports. It's been some really big gaps on this over the past year and a half. 16 points definitely not cheap, but those are monthly, and it has occasionally moved more than 16 points just on earnings alone. So again, they're not cheap, but it does seem to leave a little bit of room, especially if I'm able to get risk down. Might be one where I think there's some potential. May focus more on the bull side, but even then, it does seem like the pricing does leave a little bit of room both ways. All right, so that's it because Friday nothing's scheduled. So as you can see, not super jam-packed week, but there are some interesting names, and I mean we're almost into July, so earnings season is going to be here before you know it. Plus, imagine as we get closer to July and into the beginning of July, there's going to be a lot of unscheduled guidance coming out. So I think we're not going to be lacking for headlines. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more earnings trade ideas with options, more options swing trade ideas, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Hope you have a great weekend. Stay well, and I will talk to you all on Monday.